first time it happened, I dismissed it as a trick of fatigue. Late night, flickering fluorescent light above the bathroom sink, eyes gritty from staring at spreadsheets for 10 hours straight. I leaned closer, splashing tepid water on my face, watching the droplets trace paths down my too pale skin in the mirror. I blinked. It blinked a fraction of a second later, not quite in sync. A tiny, jarring lag, like a video stream buffering. A jolt of wrongness shot through me, sharp and electric. My own breath hitched, fogging the glass for a second. When it cleared, my reflection stared back, expressionless, pupils wide and dark in the harsh light. My reflection, my face. But the lag, it lingered in my nerves, a phantom itch beneath my skin. Sleep offered no sanctuary. Dreams were fractured mosaics of that bathroom mirror, my face peeling away like wet paper, revealing something smooth and featureless beneath. I'd wake tangled in sweat-damp sheets, the taste of ozone and stale dust thick in my mouth, heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The room felt too large, too empty, yet crowded with unseen pressure. It wasn't just blinking anymore. It was the tilt of the head. I'd scratch my nose. The reflection's finger would rise a heartbeat later, tracing the same spot with unnatural precision. A tremor started in my left hand. A nervous tick, the doctor said, stress-induced. But in the mirror, the tremor was sharper, more deliberate, like a tuning fork struck against bone. When I forced my hand still, the reflection's fingers twitched once, twice, then slowly curled into a loose fist, a gesture I hadn't made. The mirror became enemy territory. Brushing my teeth was an ordeal. The scrape of bristles against enamel echoed too loud. The reflection's jaw moved with mine, but its eyes, they wandered, drifting to the shower curtain, to the ceiling vent, anywhere but meeting my own desperate gaze. The fluorescent hum deepened, vibrating in my molars. The air in the small room grew thick, tasting of static and the faint, metallic tang of old plumbing. My skin prickled, goose flesh rising not from cold, but from the sheer, silent presence radiating from the glass. I stopped shaving. The idea of bringing a blade near that thing, mimicking me, sent waves of nausea churning in my gut. Stubble shadowed my jaw, making my reflection look harder, stranger. Darker circles bloomed beneath its eyes, deeper than my own exhaustion could explain. It looked hungry. The disconnect spread beyond the bathroom. Passing shop windows became gauntlets. A fleeting glimpse in a car's tinted side window would catch my reflection turning its head, watching me walk away long after I'd looked forward. My own movements began to feel alien. Lifting a coffee cup required conscious effort, as if my muscles were subtly resisting, learning new instructions from a silent conductor. My footsteps on the pavement sounded hollow, slightly out of rhythm with my pulse. Then came the breathing. Standing before the full-length mirror on my closet door, trying to muster the will to dress for another meaningless day, I noticed it. My chest rose and fell steadily. In the reflection, the rise was fractionally quicker, the fall shallower. A subtle, discordant rhythm. I held my breath. The reflection's chest continued its shallow rise and fall. A soft, wet click echoed in the quiet room. A sound that didn't come from my throat. The reflection's lips parted slightly, revealing the barest glimpse of teeth that seemed sharper, whiter. Or was it just the angle, the shadows pooling unnaturally in the dim morning light, filtering through the blinds? Panic, cold and greasy, slicked my spine. I slammed the closet door shut, the mirror vanishing behind cheap wood veneer. Leaning my forehead against the cool surface, I gulped air that felt insufficient. The smell of my own fear sweat, sharp and acrid, filled my nostrils. From behind the door, faint but unmistakable, came the sound of slow, deliberate breathing. Not mine. Steadier, calmer, satisfied. That night, I covered every reflective surface. Sheets draped over the TV screen. Towels taped haphazardly over the bathroom mirror, the microwave door, the glass covering a framed photo. The apartment became a cave of draped shapes and deepening shadows. Yet the feeling of being watched intensified. It pressed against my skin, a constant, crawling pressure. Whispers just below the threshold of hearing seemed to coil in the corners of the room. Not words, but the suggestion of words, like dry leaves skittering on concrete. My reflection didn't need glass anymore. It was leaching into the air, into the silence. Exhaustion finally dragged me towards my bed, a narrow island in the sea of draped furniture. I kept the overhead light on, a feeble defense against the encroaching dark. Sleep was a precipice I teetered on, my body screaming for oblivion, my mind shrieking against the vulnerability. The sheets felt coarse, abrasive against my hypersensitive skin. Every rustle, every sigh of the old building settling was amplified, twisted into potential movement. I must have drifted off. A sound jerked me back. A soft, wet snick like a knife being pulled from flesh. My eyes flew open. The overhead light was off. Moonlight, weak and cold, bled through the window, casting long, distorted shadows. And standing at the foot of my bed, silhouetted against the pale rectangle of the covered window, was a figure. My height, my size. The posture was subtly wrong. Shoulders too squared, head tilted at an angle my neck would scream at. It stood utterly still. Paralysis locked my limbs. Ice formed not in my veins, but in the marrow of my bones. My breath caught, a ragged, silent gasp burning my throat. The figure didn't move. It simply was. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating, broken only by the frantic drumbeat of my own heart against my eardrums. The smell of ozone returned, stronger now, mixed with something else. Damp earth and old stone. A cemetery scent blooming in my bedroom. Then, impossibly slow, the figure's head turned, not towards me, but towards the draped form of the full-length mirror leaning against the far wall. Its hand, my hand, lifted in the gloom, pale in the moonlight. Fingers, long and unnaturally fluid, reached towards the sheet covering the mirror. They didn't touch the fabric. They stopped inches away, hovering. The sheet began to ripple. Not from any draft. It bulged gently, as if something behind it was pressing forward, straining against the cotton barrier. The shape pushing against the cloth. It was the contour of a face. My face. A low sound escaped my throat, a whimper trapped behind clenched teeth. The figure at the foot of the bed turned its head fully towards me then. Moonlight caught its eyes, not the familiar brown. Empty pits of pure, lightless black, absorbing the feeble glow. A smile stretched across its face, too wide, revealing too many teeth gleaming like wet bone in the dark. It wasn't my smile. It was a predator's grin. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. The message slammed into my mind, cold and absolute, bypassing my ears. Almost time. The pressure behind my eyes intensified, a physical force threatening to crack my skull. My vision blurred at the edges, tunneling. My own hand, lying uselessly on the sheet beside me, twitched. Not my will. A separate impulse. A testing. A rehearsal. The figure turned back towards the straining sheet, the bulging shape of the face beneath it. The hovering fingers curled slightly, beckoning, The bulge pressed harder. I closed my eyes, squeezing them shut against the impossible sight. But the darkness behind my lids offered no escape. It pulsed with the rhythm of that other, steadier breathing. And the phantom sensation of my own fingers, moving without me, tracing patterns on the core sheet, remained. A silent, horrifying confirmation. The reflection wasn't just watching anymore. It was learning how to wear me. And the lessons were almost complete. The drape over the mirror wouldn't hold. I wouldn't hold. The thing learning my shape in the dark was preparing to step into the light, into my skin, and I couldn't stop it.